Okay, maybe the title is a tad hopeful for an armoured vehicle nicknamed the Septic Tank and Semple's Pie Cart. On the other hand, the Semple Tank has in recent years attained online meme status thanks in large part to War Thunder tank gamers. Anyway, today at Ulysses Files we will take a look at the phenomenon that is, the Bob Semple Tank. Fighting Bob Semple. Bob Semple, or the Honourable Robert Semple, was Minister of Public Works for the wartime New Zealand Labour government. A former boxer and trade unionist from New South Wales, Australia, in 1903 Semple had taken part in a miners' strike in Victoria. The strike was defeated and Semple ended up being blacklisted. To escape the blacklist, Semple emigrated to New Zealand in 1904. He was jailed twice for his activities as a trade unionist in his adopted country, including a 12-month term in 1916 for fighting conscription for overseas service. Fighting Bob Semple, as he became known, was also, however, interested in technology. He saw tech in the form of machines, tractors for example, as a liberating force that could deliver the working class from the shackles of hard manual labour. Famously, he once drove a bulldozer over a wheelbarrow to illustrate this point. A growing threat. In 1940, Semple was Minister of Public Works. World War II was in its second year, and it was clear that Britain, after the fall of France, had its hands full despite the growing threat to New Zealand and Australia from Imperial Japan. Taken from a postcard. New Zealand had a huge deficit in all kinds of armoured vehicles for defence against a Japanese invasion. But Semple was not one to sit idly by in the face of such a threat, and so by June 1940 he and an engineer named T.G. Beck had improvised the design of the tank based on a postcard of an American tractor tank design, the Diston 6-ton tractor tank from 1937. Semple and Beck's design was based on the Caterpillar D8 crawler tractor, as there were plenty of them in use by the Public Works Department at the time. The first prototype was built at the Ministry's workshop in Temuka in 1940, with two more ready by early 1941 at the railway workshops in Addington, Christchurch. Specs. The Semple tank had a top speed of just 15 miles per hour, or 24 kilometres per hour, and at about 25 tonnes was too heavy for most bridges in New Zealand. It would have to ford streams instead of crossing them. It had to stop to change gear and was inordinately tall at 12 foot or 3.65 metres, making it quite unstable and somewhat of an easy target. The tank was armed with 6 Bren .303 machine guns, as there were no heavier caliber guns available at that point in time. 1 in each side, 2 facing the front, 1 in the turret and 1 at the rear. The crew of 8 were rather cramped and included a gunner who had to line a mattress on top of the engine to fire his Bren gun. One can but imagine the poor man lying there slowly roasting over time. However, for all the jokes made about its corrugated appearance, the Bob Semple tank seems to have been reasonably well protected against small arms fire at the time. Semple had managed to get his hands on a cache of manganese steel that had been destined to be used as plating on Bren gun carriers, but he was told it was too flimsy to protect a tank. So, he had it cut into strips and welded into a corrugated pattern. This angling of the steel plates increased its effective thickness and probably better protected it against rifle and machine gun fire. Semple's Pie Cart. Its corrugated and rather ungainly appearance seemed to engender mixed feelings in the New Zealand media, as after the 3 prototypes went on a public tour in Christchurch, Wellington and Auckland in April and May of 1941, one newspaper dubbed the tank Semple's Pie Cart, perhaps an early foreshadowing of future memes. Better than nothing? In an article in the Auckland Star in August 1941, Semple stated that he saw the tank as, quote, an honest effort on the part of the military and the Public Works Department to create something out of material they had at their disposal at the time. Another article from the Evening Star in October 1941 quoted the Chief of the New Zealand General Staff, Major General Puttick, as saying that the tank might be a useful weapon for certain types of fighting, adding, "I was impressed with the skill and ingenuity displayed by those concerned in the tank's design and manufacture, adapting a civilian vehicle for military purposes." The Semple Tank had its obvious shortcomings and yet was perhaps not as bad as many have stated. Sure, it was heavy, ungainly and slow at 15 miles per hour, but plenty of other tanks in the period shared some of these characteristics. The British Churchill tank shared the 15 miles per hour speed of the Semple, though in all other respects it was pretty outstanding. The British light tanks that were used in the early days of World War II were beset with problems, as were many tank designs of other nations. Legacy. In any case, the feared invasion didn't happen and the Semple design was axed, though one was deployed to the Pacific Theatre as a tractor in 1944 after its armour plate was tripped. The Semple design was truly a poor one, yet looked worse than it was and would have been better than nothing in actual combat. It was planned to be upgraded to a 37mm anti-tank gun rather than the Bren gun in the turret. The armour was also bullet resistant, and so it might have been at least somewhat effective in the event of an invasion scenario. Still, Fighting Bob's tank is alive and kicking. War Thunder gamers are using it to knock out German tigers online. The meme is strong in this one. We hope you enjoyed this production about the amazing Bob Semple Tank. Please like, comment and subscribe if you did, and see you next time.